Once upon a time, in the far north, where the world stays white and cold, spring finally came to the Arctic. The sea ice began to crack. A young polar bear stood at the edge of the shore. His stomach growled. He wanted to reach the rich seal hunting grounds before sunset. The faster path across the ice looked easy. If the young polar bear arrived first, there would be plenty to eat. One morning, a huge walrus climbed onto a high ridge of ice. His voice rolled across the snow like thunder.
Why take the long way?
The walrus boomed.
There's a shortcut across the ice. Follow me, and we'll reach the seals before sunset.
Dozens of young animals cheered. Seals, foxes, even a few young bears. They pressed forward, eyes shining with hunger and hope. Only one small Arctic fox stayed silent. That fox had spent days listening. Every night he pressed his ear to the snow. Deep below he heard the ice shifting, growing cracks, soft groans that no one else seemed to notice. The fox ran to the young polar bear.
Don't go that way.
The fox said, voice barely above a whisper.
The ice is breaking.
The polar bear looked down at the tiny creature and laughed.
How could a little fox know more than the biggest walrus?
The fox tried again.
The ice sounds different now. Please, listen.
The young polar bear glanced at the long way around. Then the young polar bear looked at the shortcut. The shortcut looked too good to ignore. Without another word, the young polar bear followed the walrus. Soon the crowd moved. Dozens of animals followed the walrus onto the frozen sea. For a moment, the easy way looked like the right way. The ice held. The walrus smiled proudly, leading the way. The young polar bear walked near the front, heart racing with excitement. He could almost taste the seals. Then, a long crack echoed across the Arctic. Nobody moved. Another crack. This time the ground shifted under their feet. The giant sheet of ice split into drifting pieces. Animals scrambled. The walrus leaped to a larger floe and vanished into the fog. The young polar bear found himself alone on a small piece of floating ice. The current pulled him farther from shore. Cold wind rose. Fog rolled in like a heavy blanket. The world turned white and quiet. Hours passed. The polar bear's legs grew tired. His breath came out in clouds. He realized something terrible. Strength could not stop the ocean. High above, a snowy owl spotted the drifting bear. The owl flew low. The polar bear looked up, eyes wide with fear and hope.
Follow me.
The owl led him from one floating ice piece to another. Each jump was harder than the last. The gaps grew wider. The wind grew colder. His paws slipped. His heart pounded. But he kept going. One jump, then another, then another. After a long struggle, the polar bear's paws finally touched solid land. He collapsed on the snow, breathing hard. The walrus was gone. The crowd was gone. The young polar bear collapsed into the snow. The first animal waiting there was the little Arctic fox. The young polar bear looked back at the broken ice. Only then did the young polar bear understand why the longer path had been the safer one. The young polar bear whispered.
You were right. The longer way isn't always slower.
The fox smiled.
Sometimes it's the only way that gets you home.
From that day on, whenever two paths lay ahead, the young polar bear never rushed toward the easy one. The young polar bear chose the safer path, even when it took longer. The path that looks easiest can hide the greatest danger. The longer road often costs less in the end. Has a shortcut ever made your life harder instead of easier? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if you enjoy stories that make everyday moments feel a little clearer, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I'll see you in the next story.